The Environmental Protection Agency is about to do something on Thursday that the agency has never done before. It's going to officially declare that carbon dioxide, the gas that's warming our planet, doesn't endanger human health.
Wait, the EPA is going to say greenhouse gases aren't dangerous? How is that even possible?
It's called rescinding the endangerment finding. Back in 2009, under Obama, the EPA made a formal scientific determination that greenhouse gases pose a threat to public health. That finding became the legal foundation for every federal climate regulation since: fuel efficiency standards, power plant rules, all of it.
So by revoking it, they're pulling out the foundation.
Exactly. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin is calling this the largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States. And he's not exaggerating. The repeal eliminates requirements for automakers to measure, report, and comply with greenhouse gas emission standards. That's the immediate impact. Power plants are still covered, for now. But the principle is what matters here.
But wait, isn't climate science pretty settled at this point? 97% of scientists and all that?
It is. And that's the remarkable part. The Trump administration isn't even trying to argue the science is wrong. They're just saying the government shouldn't regulate based on it. The Wall Street Journal reports that the final rule, which goes to the Office of Management and Budget, simply removes the regulatory structure without engaging the underlying evidence.
How long until someone sues?
They already have a problem. On January 30th, a federal court ruled that the Department of Energy violated the law when it created a climate science advisory group to support this repeal. That makes the final rule vulnerable. Legal experts expect years of challenges. But here's the thing. Even if the courts eventually strike it down, the chaos in the meantime helps the fossil fuel industry. Uncertainty is a strategy.
And I'm guessing China is thrilled.
The Center for Biological Diversity says Beijing is popping champagne corks. China's EV makers now face no real competition from the US in the global clean car market. We're handing them the future while arguing about whether CO2 is a problem.
What a time to be alive!
Speaking of things that shouldn't be happening, let's talk about the Pentagon blowing up boats in the Pacific.
The drug boat strikes. I've seen those videos. It's like watching a video game.
Except real people are dying. On Monday, the Pentagon announced it destroyed another boat in the eastern Pacific, killing 2 people. That brings the total to at least 130 people killed in 38 strikes since September. These are strikes on civilian speedboats. No arrest attempts, no trials, no evidence presented publicly. Just missiles.
And the justification is drugs?
The military labels them narco-terrorists and claims they're operating on known trafficking routes. But here's the problem. They've provided essentially no evidence, no captured drugs, no identification of victims, just videos of boats exploding.
Has anyone pushed back on this?
Amnesty International has called these strikes murder and is demanding Congress investigate. Legal experts are describing them as extrajudicial killings, and notably, the Navy Admiral who was running Southern Command, Alvin Halsey, just retired over what sources say were disagreements about this policy. He's been replaced by Marine General Francis Donovan, who carried out Monday's strike within days of taking command.
So the guy who didn't want to blow up boats got replaced by someone who would...
That's the implication. Meanwhile, the military also boarded a Venezuelan oil tanker in the Indian Ocean, the 8th tanker seizure since Trump moved to control Venezuela's oil supply. Defense Secretary Hegseth told shipyard workers, quote, "I don't care if we got to go around the globe to get them. We're going to get them."
This feels like a very different kind of America.
And that brings us to Cuba. The island just announced it has run out of jet fuel. Completely. All 9 airports, including Havana's Jose Marti International, will have no aviation fuel from today until at least March 11th. That's a full month.
Wait, a whole country just can't fly planes?
Air Canada has already suspended all flights. Other carriers are adding fuel stops in the Dominican Republic or Cancun just to make the trip. Some are pulling out entirely through April. This is unprecedented in modern Caribbean history.
How did this happen?
Trump's oil blockade. He signed an executive order imposing tariffs on any country that sells or provides oil to Cuba. Mexico was supplying fuel until the pressure became too much. President Claudia Sheinbaum called it very unjust. but admitted Mexico has stopped oil exports to Cuba. They're sending humanitarian goods instead.
And Cuba relies heavily on tourism, right?
Tourism was generating $3 billion a year. Now buses aren't running, banks have cut hours, cultural events are suspended. They've restructured the national baseball season for efficiency. Fuel is being sold in dollars only, limited to 5 gallons per person. Cuban President Diaz-Canel gave a 2-hour televised address last week, warning people to brace for what's coming.
People are comparing this to the special period.
The economic collapse in the 1990s after the Soviet Union fell, 10-hour power outages, no food, no medicine, that's where this is heading.
Heavy. Can we talk about something slightly less dystopian? Like Ghislaine Maxwell asking for a pardon.
Ah, yes, the lighter side of sex trafficking investigations. Maxwell appeared virtually before the House Oversight Committee on Monday from her prison in Texas, and she pleaded the fifth to everything.
She wouldn't answer any questions?
Not one. Were you a close friend of Epstein? Fifth Amendment. Did you traffic young women? Fifth. Were you aware of sexual abuse of minors? Fifth. Chairman James Comer released the full video. You can watch Maxwell repeat the same legal script over a dozen times.
But she did offer something, right?
Her lawyer made it explicit. Ms. Maxwell is prepared to speak fully and honestly if granted clemency by President Trump. And then he added something remarkable. He said, quote, both President Trump and President Clinton are innocent of any wrongdoing. Ms. Maxwell alone can explain why.
She's offering to clear Trump if he lets her out.
That's how Democrats read it. Representative Melanie Stansbury said Maxwell's message was clear. Her silence can be bought through clemency. Trump hasn't ruled out pardoning her. He was asked about it last July and didn't say no. The committee has more depositions scheduled. Leslie A. Wexner next week. Then both Clintons at the end of the month.
So the Epstein Files saga continues.
It does. And speaking of things that continue despite international objection, Israel just took its biggest step toward annexing the West Bank since 1967.
What did they do?
On Sunday, Israel's Security Cabinet approved a series of measures that fundamentally change how the occupied West Bank operates. They repealed a Jordanian-era law that banned land sales to Jews. They removed requirements for special transaction permits. They expanded Israeli enforcement authority into areas that were supposed to be under Palestinian control.
So settlers can now just buy land anywhere?
That's the implication. Al Jazeera's correspondent in Birzeit called it the most dangerous and serious push toward annexation since Israel occupied the West Bank in 1967. There's now nothing preventing settlers from buying property in downtown Ramallah and building houses there.
Isn't that a violation of the Oslo Accords?
Yes, and international law and United Nations resolutions. Finance Minister Smotrich said explicitly, quote, we will continue to bury the idea of a Palestinian state. Defense Minister Katz said settlement is now an inseparable part of Israel's government policy.
What's Trump saying?
Interestingly, Trump opposes it. A White House official told Reuters that Trump is against annexation, saying a stable West Bank keeps Israel secure. But here's the catch. Netanyahu meets Trump at the White House on Wednesday. The Israeli government passed these measures 3 days before that meeting. It's a provocation. They're daring Trump to push back.
8 Muslim-majority countries condemned it, right?
Egypt, Jordan, UAE, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar issued a joint statement accusing Israel of imposing unlawful Israeli sovereignty. Hamas called for intensified confrontation. The Palestinian Authority is begging the UN Security Council to intervene.
So what happens Wednesday?
Iran is supposed to be the main topic, but this will come up, and Netanyahu knows he has leverage. Trump needs Israeli cooperation on Iran. Netanyahu is betting he can get away with the West Bank moves in exchange.
So to recap, the EPA is killing climate regulation. The Pentagon is killing suspected drug runners with no evidence. Cuba is running out of fuel. Maxwell is bargaining for freedom, and Israel is annexing the West Bank while Trump looks on.
That's Tuesday, February 10th, 2026. Sleep tight.